Hello, and welcome to another week at the bungalow. Bit of all sorts this week. Got a roof window to go in. Rear deck needs finishing off. Bit of internal work to do with regards to the internal walls. But we're starting, as you can see, with the roof window at the front. This is replacing the one that was obviously taken out when we took the roof down. The one that we took out was a bit of a mess. It was the wrong colour, didn't open correctly, so it had a top opening hinge, and so it's getting replaced. We've got a mid opener so you can spin it round and you can clean the glass in it, because that's one of the problems with roof windows, they tend to get all covered in algae or anything else. So we're removing a couple of the rafters, making a bit of an alteration, so we have to double up either side of the roof window. So there's an extra one to go in. These get cut with a splay so they can sit on top of the floor joists, because also this is the stairwell for getting upstairs, so we have to double up either side of the stairwell as well, so there's an awful lot of timber just there. So the horizontals go in to hold the window in place. And then it's the heavy lifting exercise of lifting the window up with the WA's unit and everything in it. But as long as your opening's the right size, it pretty much sort of hooks in. You hook the bottom on and then push it through and flip down the bits that screw on. A couple of screws in each corner on the brackets. And there, as you can see, it's the mid opener, so that spins all the way around and then you can clean it. Middle piece is in place and the top one will go back in. We've got an alteration to do around the chimney as well, so that'll be sorted out at the same time. And then we move inside and Claire's knocking down the old external wall. This just make it easier so we can tie in the new screed with the old. And also got a bit of work to do here, adding another wall plate. This is to complete the deck that we started, that runs across the steels just outside the first bedroom to create the balcony. So chopping away a bit of the old masonry, ready to muck in the wall plate. Just when we think we've removed all of the old bungalow, there's still a bit more to go out. So Claire's exposing the original plastic, and then you can see the black of the new, and then we'll tape those two together so that we can keep the continuous moisture resistance across the floor. Then we have to cut the old plaster away so we can get the vertical straps in. These will hold the wall plate down, just to stop it moving as it's setting, and then give that vertical restraint. Meanwhile, Claire's still breaking up more concrete. I think getting pretty fed up with it. It's damn laborious, it's a bit damp, it's a bit nasty. But as you can see, success. Plastic's there ready to be tied together. On the outside it wraps up onto the brickwork, and then the other internal leg we may have to extend slightly. Checking the timber for length, and then start mucking it in. I'm no bricklayer, as you can probably tell, but nevertheless, does the job. and then leveling up so the new timbers will tie into the edge of that steel you can see in the top left hand corner, and then rest on top of the wall plate. So with that done and setting, move upstairs. We're doing one of the bedroom internal walls, or the internal wall that runs all the way along the back of the bedrooms. This gives support to the rafters, and also it's your back wall. We also have to line the back of it with ply to give the rafters some rigidity. So the timber for this pie is 100 by 50s, which we're screwing down into each of the floor joists. And then the uprights are identical size timber, and they get screwed initially but will be bolted into the rafters. They fall around about midpoint of the rafters, so the load from the roof is carried down via these uprights into the floor joists as well as on the outside wall. So there's all the pieces of timber all cut to length, ready to be screwed in. And this runs all the way across from one wall to the other. It does stop obviously over the staircase area. As I said before, it gets lined on the back with ply. This is to stop the sort of the leaning of the roof, so the sort of wind load on either of the gables, and sort of what it wants to do is fall over like dominoes. And so by having this in place and lining it with ply, it just sort of triangulates it and stops that happening. Now we have another job we've been leaving. We have put the non-shrink grout underneath the column of the bifolding door steel. So this gets mixed up pretty runny, so we can pour it in, and then it just fills all the gaps underneath the steel where the shims are, holds it all in place, and because it's non-shrink it ends up being load bearing. So it has to be whisked up to get all the lumps out. So as you can see, it's like a thick double cream. And then poured in, we're just sort of waiting for it to sort of ooze around the outsides of the steel. So we then know that it sort of pushed all the air out and replaced it with this grout. Another day, something slightly different. So these are the leftover tiles and tile and a halves on the end gable. We were always a bit dubious about knocking these off because the gable ends were a bit exposed and left up until the point we've got some timber work and the steel putting some weight down on them. But now the new roof's in place, we're pretty sure the gable's quite happy and okay, so we're just getting rid of the last of the tiles. Same as the brickwork that was left downstairs around the outside, it's just another load that we're making up. We can get rid of to the recyclers of all the masonry. And then the same on the back. So Claire here with the hammer and bolster, just having to be really careful not to dislodge any of the brickwork or biscuit block work as she calls it. But all is well, another job done. So back to one of the other ones, putting the bolts in. These are M12 bolts, coach bolts going through, so drilling the holes. We have to put one of these in each of the intersections between the uprights and the rafters. And back to that deck again. So measuring up. Get the last piece of roof in so we can start thinking about getting the bricklayer back and getting the roof deck on. So we won't bore you with the finer details of this bit, but a bit of high speed gets it done. There you go, all knocked out, ready for its roof light in the middle there. So this is internal wall for either side of the hallway. So just behind us there you can see the opening for the window and where the window seat will be underneath. So here we're doubling up the joists either side to take that internal wall. The internal wall runs from front to back of the property and gives a bit more support for the roof. So it supports the lean of the front roof with all the tiles on it, and then obviously you've got the downward force of the flat roof, especially when you've got to take into account things like snow load, etc. These walls will also be ply lined, same reason as the one at the front, just gives that sort of triangulation of the timbers and the support. So we've doubled up the one closest to us and then bolted that together, and Claire's just clamping up there the timber that goes around the steel. So pretty much every time we do something new or start something new, have a discussion about it, how we're going to do it, what's the plan of action. And this is no different. Timbers get fixed around the outside, gives us something to screw the uprights into. We work on the fact that it's best to bond some timber to the steel. Gives us plenty of places to screw in the uprights. And then once the timbers are upright, get it clamped up and wait for the adhesive to fix. All of the timbers have been shaped around the steel so that it fits nicely and they match up. So with the ply out the way off the floor, we can start building off the new doubled up joists that we put in and start forming the hallway landing area. So these are just 100 by 50, exactly the same as that front wall. And so exactly the same as you've seen us do before. Levelling and screwing it all in place. Doorways being formed through, ready to accept the door linings when we get to that first fix stage. And there you can see the two lots of doubled up timbers on the floor. Once we've got these walls done, got a couple of got to put an extra joist in there to support the new floor, but we'll be able to get the ply back down and things will get a bit safer. We won't be balancing across the open area above the downstairs. So at a later stage we'll be putting the noggins in. But as the last few timbers go in place, I thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again on the next one.